welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to give an overview of what it's like for a VA or Veterans Affairs C&P compensation and pension appointment will be for mental health. But before I do that, I want to talk about what it's going to be like if you have to do labs for your VA claim, basically. So I had to do some labs for, I didn't even know I was going to have to do labs. I'm just telling these people what my claims are, right? But they decipher on what needs to be, have blood drawn, or what needs to be a face-to-face appointment, or what needs to be virtual, right? So if you say, like, you have something like you have a goiter or you have thyroidism, they're going to want to get your blood drawn. So what they're going to do is send you some pieces of paper in the mail, FedEx, right? And you're going to want to take that to the clinic that it says on the actual piece of paper. Like for me, I had to go to a university hospital, which I had never been to before. So one, I had to find parking. Then two, I needed to find a laboratory. And so when I did find a laboratory, I had to like be registered as if I was a new patient, basically, right? So I gave them paperwork that the VA gave me for my appointment. They put all your information in. They ask you questions like, who's your point of contact for an emergency, blah, 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 and then you wait in a waiting room. Now, since this was a university hospital, it was a larger waiting room for people waiting to get their blood drawn or pee samples or whatever, right? But I would say that was relatively quick. I was probably in there like 30 minutes. So once I finally got called back, I want to let you know they're calling back a whole bunch of people. So it is like an assembly line of nurses or med techs or who's able to draw blood or take a piss sample. They will do that, okay? And then once you're done, they'll look at your paperwork, right? And the girl who took my blood, she was judging me AF when she saw like what I was getting tested for. She was like, oh, pretty privilege. But you ain't that pretty because you got X, Y, and Z, right? You got some health issues that, whatever. You work at a hospital, I'm not. Okay. I'm just saying, I was totally judged based on what the VA had to test me for, right? Or get samples for to see if I actually had it, right? So what the VA is doing, they're trying to verify if you have what you say that you have, right? And that's the same thing that they're going to do for your mental health appointment. So my mental health appointment was a virtual one, which I was actually very happy that it was virtual, because I feel like after having that audio appointment and getting judged by the lady who did it, like I felt like I was going to be nervous to tell my story and feel like I was going to be number one, being watched, number two, being judged. So it kind of let off a lot of pressure by having a virtual one. So what you'll do, or what the VA will do, they'll send you an email and they'll say, Dr. So-and-so, which is a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whoever that can examine your mental health, will do it, and then they'll set an appointment with you and that doctor, and then they'll send you a link to a video conference. It'll just be you and that doctor. And they want you to test out to make sure that your audio and video is capable and that they can hear you. So on a day of appointment, I signed in like 5 minutes before the appointment is to start, and the doctor was there waiting for me. He was a cool doctor. I had a psychologist, and he was like older man, maybe 60s, but he was very, really easy to talk to. They'll ask you how many years you've been in. He or she will ask you what's your occupation, if you're retiring or if you're separating, and then they'll get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here. And they will ask, so tell me what is going on with you, and you can tell them what is your triggers, what you are experiencing. Mainly that's what they're looking for. And then in a roundabout way, he will ask you why this is happening. And so also my doctor had, I could tell he had my medical records up there. So he was looking at me, he had his headphones on, but he had a couple screens, I think, or maybe just one screen, because I could tell when he was scanning with his mouse, but scanning the screen and trying to click like certain answers. So I can tell he was looking at the DBQ, and I can also tell he was looking at my medical records as well, because he would ask me questions like questions that were closed-ended. Like he already knew the answer, but he wanted to see if I was going to answer that was lining up to what has happened to me, right? Something that threw me off that I was not expecting is that they do ask about you growing up, like your family, if you're close with your brothers and sisters, if you have a relationship with your mom and your dad, how was it growing up with them? Were you a straight A student? Did you have a lot of friends? Were you a class clown? Were you picked on? Were you always quiet? Did you consider yourself a loner? How would people consider you if you had a job before you went to the Air Force or the Army? Were you a cashier? How did people perceive you at work? Like, I was not expecting that. I was not ready for that. So I answered everything honestly, right? But I think if you're trying to get, like, let's say a PTSD, if in this, whether you have it or not, a PTSD claim, a depression claim, anxiety claim, or any type of mental health claim, they want to make sure and see and verify that you are different than the way that you came in, and that the military was a cause for your experience of what you're dealing with, right? And I know for a fact what I'm dealing with is military cause, because I've been in the military for 21 and a half years. Okay, but they are going to ask you the same question 3 different times to make sure you have the same answers. So I'm not telling you, I'm not trying to coach you to go lie, right? But I'm trying to coach you to let you know what to expect, because I didn't look on YouTube. I just had friends tell me, make sure you're getting everything documented. Make sure you are going to your VA exams on a worst day possible. What? I'm going on a day that the VA has me scheduled, okay? Now, what they mean by that is, like, let's say you know you're going for the head to toe VA exam, and you know you have a bad back, but your back is acting good that day. Go run you 2 miles beforehand so your back is sore so you can't bend over. That's what they're trying to say, right? But when it comes to mental health, whether you are on medication or you have panic attacks or whatever, you're gonna be in normally I would think in a stable state, because you're trying to answer these questions as best as you can, right? And yet these questions are going to bring anxiety. It may even cause you some depression, but you need to let these people know what you're going through and what you've been through, and how the military caused it, right? Or what you experienced in the military caused it, right? Because I would say we didn't come in the military like this. It's because of the military, right? There was one other thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, so it's not like he was asking hard questions, but when you are bringing up what you've been through, you get emotional. Like, I know I cried like twice. Okay? Just dredging up the past, being raw and trying to just tell someone the truth, and the truth can hurt, but the truth will also set you free at the same time. So I would say, all in all, my virtual appointment went well. I don't know. I'm gonna see what my VA claim is. I don't know yet. But also, my appointment went 1 hour long. I was expecting to go maybe like an hour and a half. I knew another person who had a mental health appointment. He had it in person, and he said he was in and out of there within 15 minutes. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if that means that he didn't have any mental ailments, or if he explained it through and through real quickly. I don't know, but I just know my doctor was very personable. We had a couple giggles, a couple laughs in there too, and it got emotional based on what I was saying. But I will tell you, he will have your medical record up there, so he's going to scan and ask you pointed questions about your mental health, ask you questions about your family history, your history in the military, take me through a day in your life at work. They will ask you questions like that. So I just want to give you a heads up of what to expect, and let me know if you have any questions.